Good morning, everyone. This is Luda Kopikina from GAI Insights, where we rate every day the 5 to 6 articles of Gen AI news as essential, important, or optional to save you time. We are here today with Paul, Adam, and Ankash. And let's start. Ankash, if you can bring in the first article, please.
Sure, Luda, just bringing up my screen. Okay. So the first one that we have for today is an interactive explorable world model.
Yeah, from Oasis. And the first application that they show us is the games setup. So, Adam, what do you think about it? There are several innovations in here.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff going on. I think it's probably optional at this point. What I think is almost more interesting. So what's going on is this is a rendering of Minecraft that has no game engine. So they're using a new chip with a new architecture to do transformer work to generate 20 images a second to effectively create a video stream of the video game as it's playing, which is incredible. And as this starts to play out, some of the things that become possible will be quite interesting as a new approach. As I dug a little deeper, what I really found most interesting, though, is what they call their Sohu, which is the chip underneath this that it's built on. And I'll just quote something here. So for transformers specifically, which is what they're betting on, this outperforms everything. It's an order of magnitude faster and cheaper than NVIDIA's B200s, their new Blackwells. So for transformer work specifically, this is the best thing on the market by far. They're talking about 500,000 tokens per second for Llama 70B. So this is really extraordinary. Like they say, it can't do AlphaFold 2. It can't do stable diffusion. It can't do power Instagram ads. It's only for transformer work. But they've made a very big bet over the last 2 years and have built an architecture that can support that at an incredible capacity. And that's what's starting to make possible demos like we saw with this Oasis, where they're rendering 20 frames a second as images to create a video game before your eyes.
Yeah, so
All that being said, it's probably optional news.
right, but Adam, it's real time, correct? So they generate this
Yeah.
work and they adjust them in real time. So you never, for the gamers, this is like heaven.
Yeah, the reality is there's no coherence. So if you look to the right and you look back to the left, it won't be the place you were before.
Correct.
It's only generating what you see on the screen. It's not actually generating a whole world. So no one will be playing this video game, but as a proof of concept of what's going to be possible, it is amazing.
Okay, Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely optional. Very exciting on the R&D workbench. But it also goes with a trend, Adam, of how much innovation and capability expansion is going on for interactive Gen AI generated games and ads. So the SEO bloodbath, this is just going to continue to drive that. I mean, Google's got a whole bunch of competitors now coming at it in a whole bunch of different ways, and tools like this are just going to help those competitors.
Yeah. Okay, so optional. Ankash, okay with optional? Anything to add here?
No, Luda, fine with optional.
Okay, optional it is. So let's take the second article. Ankash?
Yes, the second one comes from AMD. So AMD has introduced OLMo. It's a 1 billion parameter language model.
Yeah, I believe it is mine. So it's interesting, right? We have NVIDIA is now almost really a software company rather than a hardware company. AMD is following suit, and but with a different angle. They're focusing on their PC. They have the what is it called? My screen is. There is a AMD Ryzen AI PC that has a NPU and a software, to run these models very effectively. So it can be on the edge, and it's if you look at the results, these small models in at par and sometimes much better performance than other small models, the llama models. So it's for AMD, that's a great step forward. But I think it's optional for the general reader, our reader. What do you think?
Yeah,
All that.
definitely optional, but the verticalization goes, Akash, we need to make sure this isn't our buyer's guide. I think it is, but AMD, and I suspect AMD is going to follow a little bit what NVIDIA is doing. So they'll have chips with their own model on it, chips with Llama on it as well, and the vertical stack is going to continue to be verticalized, but also with some optionality on the models, but optional.
Yeah.
And adding on that, Paul, you see where it says right there, why build your own language models, right? When you're talking about a 1 billion parameter, right? That's very much along the lines of owning your own intelligence as well.
Correct. And it fits right in with right behind your firewall and small models and the whole big trend we're seeing there.
Right, and they are actually introducing, so they are opening it up, the training, the pre-training, the weights, they're really opening it up.
Is it going to be OSI open source?
Yeah.
Now that we have the standard.
Right, but they trained 3 models, one with a 1.3 billion tokens, and then or trillion tokens. Yeah. So and then pre-trained with certain data sets twice, and then with the human input. So it's you pick your model that you want to work with and go from there. So this is quite powerful, actually.
Yeah. And I think it also keeps going. It's just a buyer's guide in my head right now because we're spending so much time on it. This whole notion that the menu for these AI leaders is just going. Do you want to own your own model or not? Do you want super advanced or not? Do you want the full stack or not? Do you want a super cost effective one that's on your device, or do you want the most bleeding edge, cutting edge one that's up in the cloud there? So,
Yeah.
but optional. Yeah.
Optional. Okay, optional it is. Next one, Ankash, please.
So, the next one comes from AWS, and AWS has launched a new tool through which you can track, allocate, and manage your GenAI cost and usage.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, this is optional. I mean, I think it's an important step. I'm thinking a lot of companies know they got burnt by the escalation and all the costs and difficult for AWS hosting. I think this is definitely optional. It also fits in with the whole total cost of ownership trend. We're just starting to see as companies are realizing that there's an explosion of token use coming in the organization, and as these companies move from barely in production to more of them in production here, they're going to have to really start tracking costs a little more, but optional for now.
Paul, may I try to convince you that we might want to consider an important rating?
Okay, good.
This is, well, I find, first of all, it's Amazon, and there's lots of people on the enterprise side using it because they can switch between the models. They could help with vertical applications and predefined templates. So for the enterprise, this is an important platform, right? And having an understanding, transparency, and budgets to allocate to certain projects, to how you are doing on experimental stuff, to keep contained expense is critically important for this effort, right? So I think now you can measure and you can see things and it's transparent. So I really applaud this development. And I think this is an important news. It's a maturation of the field. And from that perspective, I think this is I was almost essential on this, even though it's just Amazon. So I think it's important.
I'm going to argue back down. I'll just point out one thing in here, which is maybe a point of clarification. that has this sound a little like they already had tagging, which is the thing you need to get the cost management. It says they already had tagging for provision models, custom models, agent aliases, model evaluations, prompt flows, knowledge bases, batch inference jobs, custom model jobs, and model duplication jobs. That was already there. What they've added is the tagging for on-demand foundation models. So in some ways, I'd say this is really incremental. It's a very important topic. And it's very important for Amazon, but they're already offering that on almost, everything except this one piece. And sure, that's important. And it's adding tremendous complexity in the transparency, but yeah.
Yeah, so what I surmised that if you go down, Ankash, to the user interfaces, that these user interfaces were not released previously. And so now it's down almost like to the end of the article. It's now you can actually set, and like right there. So you can set things, you can set budgets, and you can visually see, you can reset them and play with what's happening. So I
you could do that. You just, my understanding is you could do that. You just couldn't do it for on-demand models. That's the deal.
Okay. All right. Then if you think this is really incremental news, then I'm okay with optional. But I thought that this tool is important to highlight that they are now there. Okay, so I think optional it is since I'm outvoted. Ankash, what do you think?
So, Adam, Luda is the opposite of John Sviokla.
I'm democratic.
Too democratic leader.
Ankash, what do you think?
Look, I think from perspective of tracking cost and utilization, this is an interesting and important development. But it's limited to Bedrock for now. So yeah, important as a trend, other people should also do it. But maybe right now optional because it's just Bedrock.
All right. Optional it is. Okay, let's go to the next article. Ankash.
Okay. Yes, the next one comes from Ethan Mollick, and he's asking us to stop writing all our AI prompts from scratch.
Yes, Adam, what do you think? So Ethan goes actually and shows us how to use templates and fine tune the prompt.
Yeah, there was a part of me that felt like when I first read it, this was really Ethan and I forgot Lila, I believe is her name, his wife. They've co-authored this piece, which is really pointing to blogs and templates and educational materials they already have, almost as a promotional piece for that. But I was reflecting recently on the conversations we've been having about how long we've been talking about this stuff in and out. And the fact that many things that we've been taking for granted are still very important for people to understand. And I think this is a really great example of that. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. And there are a lot of great prompt libraries and prompt templates available. So for that reason, I felt maybe we call it important this time. It does have some good resources. It is a good example specifically. And if nothing else, to reinforce that concept that you're going to succeed here by building on the backs of others rather than reinventing this wheel. There could be a benefit to highlighting that, maybe once a year we tolerate an article about the importance of prompt engineering and prompt templates to sort of reinforce it to the newer listeners. But okay. I could be argued down to optional for sure.
Okay, so important going. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we need to, I think this is all getting more sophisticated. I think I estimate 10 to 20,000 economic buyers just starting to learn. And I think this is the worst thing you can say to a beginner. I think the beginner needs to get into the water, their hands in the clay, wrestle with this co-intelligence so they start getting a sense for it. I think intermediate users, people who now are using their 50th, 100th, 500th one can start doing that here. So I think it's a very interesting thing there. I mean, the thing I keep seeing AI training is, oh, Adam, I don't even want to do my first two prompts here because I don't know prompt engineering. I don't know the blueprint. I don't know.
I'll push back though. The title of the article is "Stop Writing All Your AI Prompts from Scratch." So this is at an intermediate level.
Okay.
This is someone who's writing a bunch of AI prompts already, and it's about how they think a little more advanced. So it's probably someone past that first experimental stage. I absolutely agree with you, though. That is the place for people to begin.
Yeah. I mean, Ethan's just cranking some great stuff here. I definitely would have it as important, Luda, for intermediate.
Okay. All right. Ankash, important. Okay. With important.
Yes, Luda.
Okay. Important.
And answer Michael's question, Michael, my slide rule broke. I'm running around getting a new one today. So it broke and I threw it at my abacus.
Okay. Next one, Ankash.
Okay, the next one that we have comes from Foundation Capital, and it talks about a system of agents bringing service as a software to life.
Right. This is mine, actually. So it comes from Foundation Capital. So this is a VC, right? And in the normal way of VCs, it puts out a futuristic perspective of how this whole field is going to evolve. So, and they use the CRM, an example of Salesforce, saying, hey, listen, phase one, this is Salesforce that automated a whole bunch of routine stuff in the sales development. And then it goes to phase two. Here's AI with some agents and agent orchestrating layer. And then phase three, when the agents talk to each other and take intelligent tasks and they collaborate with some human input. And that's phase three, when it becomes much more helpful. AI becomes much more helpful. And they highlight the system of agents 50. Ankash, if you go down, so this is the 50 startups that they say are the best in these verticals. So as I find that it is a very short but quite a succinct read that identifies interesting developments and kind of puts it all together. So I suggest we put important on this one. What do you think, Adam, Paul, Ankash?
Well, we lost Paul, so
Sorry. Okay, Adam.
Yeah, no worries. I was on the fence till I got down to these tables with the in-house functions, the outsourced functions, vertical functions, and then I thought it was a really good look at the landscape. The article itself didn't. I mean, it's pretty basic. It's like we'll have agents, and then we'll have agents of agents, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. But once we add this to it, I think it sort of put it over the top. As you said, it's not very long, so I was important as well.
Okay. Ankash, okay with important?
Yes, Luda.
Great. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay, the last one today comes from Google. So it's about Gemini API, and Google Studio are now offering grounding with Google Search.
Okay, so Paul is not with us. Adam, do you want to take it, or Ankash?
No, we're going to make Ankash go first. He's subbing in for Paul today.
Okay, Ankash. What do you
Yes,
think?
so I think this is an important announcement, and interestingly, Google added this AI Studio, added this Google search feature in Google AI Studio, just as OpenAI was adding the ChatGPT search or announcing ChatGPT search. So I think this is important from that context, that now we can do Google search, or let's say Google AI Studio and Gemini API can now use Google search. But from a usage perspective, I think Perplexity, ChatGPT search, they are more useful right now for individuals who just want to go and use these tools. So not sure how useful this will be for direct users, but definitely useful for, I think, developers.
What do you think, Adam? So important going, right, optional for now, right? Ankash, you said optional. Yeah, so what do you think?
Yes, Luna.
Yeah, I think optional as well, just given the scope, right? It's not everything with Google or every time someone searches with Google. It's specifically within the AI Studio and the Gemini API. So it's people who are building things with Google. The other thing beyond just that it's keeping up with Perplexity and OpenAI in that regard is the concept of grounding with Google search. So it's about validating that Gemini is not hallucinating. So if Gemini gets an answer, it will then search with Google to validate that information against what it can find publicly. So it's going to get much more, the LLM Gemini will get a lot more accurate and will hallucinate a lot less as a result of this. I think we covered the news when we first announced the research around grounding using Google search, and now it looks like it's coming to market. I don't know if they're already using it in Google search in general with Gemini. And it's just, this is the Studio and API as well, or if it's come to the Studio and API and we'll see it through the core Gemini or Gemini Pro to come. But given the scope here, I felt it was probably optional.
Yeah, I agree with optional. So optional it is. But it is interesting. They're in some sense catching up, right? And you can toggle off and on this grounding feature. So it seems like this field is really beginning to be really extra competitive. Talking about SEO bloodbath coming up for sure. For sure. Okay, so we have Ankash, if you can pull up the scorecard. So I think we have 4 optional and 2 important, right?
Right.
Okay, so interesting Monday. Thank you, Michael and other folks, and Ashish contributing to commenting and giving us suggestions of what you think. That's really valuable. We really appreciate it. So thank you all and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.